is yours. The world is yours.
Yo, what's good everyone? It's Leak and I'm back again with another reaction video. Today I'm reacting to my boy Schmuckles. He's ranking every license that's most likely to be the 6th anniversary chapter in DVD. I'm excited about this, man. I'm pretty curious to see which chapter could most likely be possible for DVD. I mean, you already know which one I'm hoping for, but I'm still curious and skeptical to see like what other ones could possibly make it. But without further ado, let's just get right into this. This is a long video too, so let me not even talk too much, bro.
So we already know that chapter 23 is going to be the Ringu chapter in Dead by Daylight. The fact an iconic license like this wasn't saved for the anniversary chapter is making people start to think that Behavior has something big planned for the 6-year anniversary. In today's video, we're going to rank which licenses are most likely based on everything we know. Obviously, chapter 24 could be original, but in this video, we're going to explore the possibility of another licensed anniversary chapter. It sounds like they might have more licensed deals lined up because Dave Richards said this in an interview after the Ringu chapter was announced.
What can we look forward to in the future of Dead by Daylight? Anything you can share with us that the fans don't know?
I can't. Of course, my hands are tied. I can't spill the beans. I can just say that they're
off the rip. Why do they keep asking these devs like what they keep sneaking in? They want little hints as to what the 6th anniversary is gonna be. Like, no, they're not gonna say anything, bro.
There's a lot of very exciting stuff coming. You know, again, new characters, new maps, new chapters.
Yeah, they make it as big as possible.
New features, absolutely.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Schmuckles. In today's video, we're going to go over the most current news for every major license. The situation is ever changing and there's constantly new news. Goodness. I'm definitely going to post more videos like this one as chapter 24 gets closer. So make sure to
Walking Dead.
Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I also stream on Twitch on Wednesday and Sunday nights. The link for that is in the description below. The emojis in the DBD Leaks Discord that were possibly teasing future chapters were likely trolling. Just like the leaked visuals. If I
sound pretty low right now, it's because I'm really tired. I'm so sorry. I'm posting this video pretty late. I was waiting for my nephew to fall asleep, that's why. So I kind of had to babysit in the middle of everything. So I'm sorry if I posted this video late.
For chapter 23. So this isn't a good basis for our chapter 24 speculations. When I asked my subscribers, it seems most people think that the Ringu chapter was announced early to avoid.
Why do you think the Behavior revealed the Ringu chapter 3 months early to announce it before it was leaked by data miners? So I'm guessing what he's trying to say is that data miners could possibly could leak the chapter, the 6th anniversary chapter, maybe.
Avoid data miners leaking the chapter early, as previous chapters have been before. If you want to see that video that goes over every time a chapter was leaked, you can click on the title above. I also got word that The Conjuring was seen as a purchasable DLC. The Conjuring and Dead Space are listed as DB.
Never. Oh yeah, I saw this stuff.
DLCs on a reliable German game distribution website called Instant Gaming. However, in our Dead Space DVD licensing video, we confirmed that the Dead Space DLC was listed based on rumors. The Conjuring DLC here is likely listed from rumors as well. At one point, we thought Chapter 23 was The Conjuring. So this Conjuring DLC likely isn't a good indicator for Chapter 24 speculations. We've had other licensing theory videos based on dev interviews and tweets from Behavior employees. In this video, we're going to build on those. And this is actually our tier list from one of those videos. The tier list defines...
How hard is it to get every major license to DVD? Yeah, I remember Bioshock being on top, but I forgot why though. But hey, if it's that killer looks pretty much
here is ranking how difficult it would be for Behavior to acquire each license. When guessing what's to come next, which is not the same as this tier list, we're going to combine the status of the licenses and the license holders with how much Behavior wants the license. Now that satisfaction survey from last year is a good starting point for which licenses are on Behavior's wish list. Since that survey, we've had 3 licenses, all of which are on that list. Intuitively, I feel like a couple more licenses have probably made their way onto that list since Behavior released the survey. There's a lot of other tools we can use to make some educated guesses on which licenses Behavior would prioritize for the 6th year. For example, this tweet right here from Matthew Cote. On September 28th last year, the game director of DBD said, "Sometimes I'm working on something I think is going to be really cool for DBD. And then I see some posts begging for that specific thing and it takes everything I have to not say anything, but it makes me happy, so there." Cote's job for Behavior is to work with license holders and bring licensed chapters into DBD. I think it's highly likely that Cote was talking about a licensed deal here. We haven't heard anything about Funko Pops, which Cote teased during the 5-year anniversary. In theory, Cote also could have been talking about the pig and and the Saw content we just got in DVD. I mean, maybe he was talking about working with Lionsgate Entertainment here. There are ways to search the Twitter database to see if any posts tag Kote within a certain time interval and mention any keywords. In this video, we're going to search 2 months before this tweet to investigate what Kote could have been talking about here. For example, when I apply this search to Pig and Amanda, I can see that there have been 3 posts to Kote about these topics, none of which are begging for new content. So Kote wasn't talking about the Saw content here. Plus, we recently found out that Behavior didn't go through Shawnee Smith to get the likeness for the pig.
Do you have any feelings about Amanda being put in the game Dead by Daylight with a bunch of other famous slashers?
The only feeling I have about that stuff is like, bum they didn't call me, you know, because she's, huh? Oh, awesome. See, I think like anything to do with Amanda should be me.
Yeah.
So that's all.
So she doesn't do the voices. I didn't know that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, there's that. I got that going for me.
You're the character model. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You still got
like,
them pink
I'm
nails.
stoked that she has that impact, you know, and that young women connect with her. You know, that's pretty cool. I wish I could have done those things, but just to be consistent with her, because she's kind of mine.
Also, Kote's tweet here wasn't talking about the ring. This is the only time that anyone tagged Kote using the word ring. Let's go over the assumptions for our Chapter 24 tier list. Okay. Chapter 24 could be original, but in this video, we're going to assume that Chapter 24 is licensed. We're also going to assume...
Remember, like I said, anything is possible, yo. I'm telling you. If it's, like I said, if it's not licensed, I'm not going to be disappointed. I just hope y'all not disappointed as well. Because though, like, let's say the 6th anniversary chapter is confirmed to be original, it could be the most unique chapter out of everybody in the whole game. You know what I'm trying to say? And further to come. You just never know.
That Matthew Kote's tweet was likely talking about the 6-year anniversary. Another assumption we have is that
when you think about it, it's their idea. They can make up what they want to make up to make that chapter amazing. You know what I'm trying to say?
The license for Chapter 24 is most likely more iconic than the ring. Since we're assuming that Chapter 24 is likely more iconic than the Ringu chapter, other than Springtrap and Slenderman, that line of thinking would suggest that Chapter 24 is a movie license. Out of all the video game licenses out there, other than Springtrap and Slenderman, we don't have any super iconic ones left. You could argue Dead Space, Evil Within, or The Last of Us, but I don't think these video game licenses are more hyped than Pennywise, Candyman, Alien, or Chucky. So this tier list defines which licenses are most likely for the 6-year anniversary. Our S tier licenses are going to be iconic. There needs to be some form of evidence that Kote could have been talking about the license in his tweet. And there needs to be evidence that Behavior could be secretly working on the project. And that the license holders could be willing. Our A tier licenses also need to be iconic. There needs to be evidence that Kote could have been talking about the license. But for the A tier licenses, it's unclear if the license holders would be willing. Or maybe there's not much supporting evidence that Behavior wants the license. Our B tier is the wildcard tier. There still needs to be evidence that Kote could have been talking about the license. It's unclear if the license holders would be willing, and it might not be iconic enough.
Why I have a feeling there's gonna be B tier. Why? Because of the fact that when you really think about it, it seems like there's some sort of small issue with most the license that we requested. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm just saying, beware of that.
Our C tier has no evidence that Kote could have been talking about the license.
Mainly Pennywise and Springtrap.
And/or the license holders are stubborn. The D tier licenses have known license complications, and our F tier is legally impossible. Before we start talking about licenses, I just wanted to say I'd love to hear your feedback on the research we're about to go over. Like if you agree, disagree, or have more information that I didn't cover in this video, I'd love to know in the comments below. The first license we're going to talk about is Jason Voorhees. Apparently on December 15th last year, Sean Cunningham partnered with Boss Protocol and joined the Masters of Horror. Not sure if this means Friday the 13th NFTs are on their way, but Boss Protocol seems to be in contact with Cunningham over Friday the 13th merchandising. Last we left off, the lawsuit was finished. However, Sean S. Cunningham and Horror Inc. could appeal the court's decision. On December 28th, 2021, entertainment lawyer Larry Zerner said, "Just a heads up, tomorrow's the last day for Horror Inc. to file a cert petition to the Supreme Court in the Friday the 13th case. If it happens, I'll let you know." It's 4 p.m. and I still don't see a cert petition filed with the Supreme Court in the Friday the 13th case. What does this mean? Well, it means the case is officially over and Victor Miller owns the rights to his screenplay in the US. Does this mean that the parties have settled or are close to settling and a new movie is forthcoming. Not necessarily. It could just mean that Sean
it's
Cunningham
always
realized that a
something
cert
with these-
petition was a real long shot and didn't want to waste his money. However, the fact he didn't file a cert petition makes it very slightly more likely that the parties are working out a resolution. But I wouldn't hold my breath. Can Victor and Sean just make their own separate movies? Not really, because Victor owns the US rights and only to the first script. And Sean owns adult hockey mask wearing Jason, but he can't legally use him in a movie without Victor's permission.
I was right about to say that. I was about to say, can't they just use the mask? But then when you really think about it, was like Ghostface is different. You see, like Ghostface could be anybody. And Jason, that's Jason. Like you can't change Jason. You know what I'm trying to say? You can't put a mask on someone else and then it could be Howard Layson or something like that. You can't do that, bro. Cause it's like, that's Jason. That's what Jason is known for.
So I'd say that the Friday the 13th license likely isn't on the table for the 6-year anniversary. The rights still aren't fully fleshed out, and it takes time for Behavior to develop licensed chapters.
How much time does it take to create a licensed chapter? It takes several months. That's starting from the very first conceptual phase in pre-production, where we make sure that the design is fun and that it fits the universe of our partners and that they feel well represented. And then through the stages of production where we actually build everything that's been concepted, then marketing, wrapping things up, playtesting, going into the PTB, and then getting the full product into your hands.
So I'd say for the 6-year anniversary, Friday the 13th is a high D-tier license. The rights to Jason aren't out of the woods yet, and the 6-year anniversary seems too soon for Jason. On January 23rd of this year, somebody asked the Friday the 13th official Twitter about
I wonder what's going to be up to.
News. They responded, Victor won the appeal back in September. Now Sean and Victor can try and make their own movies honoring their own intellectual properties they own, or strike their own deal to work together on future movies. It comes down to personal feelings and money. Someone also asked, can they let Gun Media update the game again? The Friday the 13th Twitter said not going to happen, especially with the state of what both Victor and Sean own individually now. Speaking of Gun Media, their new game in development was announced to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they released the trailer.
I can't wait for that game. That game is I hope it's fire.
This means that Tony Todd, the actor who portrayed Candyman, probably wasn't talking about this game in this tweet. On September 17th, it was announced that Tony Todd voiced Venom. On September 28th, Tony Todd tweeted off to a voiceover session. Somebody asked if it was related to the Spider-Man game, and Tony Todd responded, actually not today. Something else.
Stop playing.
I checked Tony Todd's IMDb.
I'm telling y'all, anything is literally gonna be like the 4th anniversary all over again. Only because the fact that I know, I like 99%, I am certain that they're not gonna make another announcement. It's gonna be just like the 4th anniversary.
And the Spider-Man game was his most recent voiceover work. He's done 2 video game voiceovers recently. Spider-Man and the Back 4 Blood campaign trailer.
We have strolled across our world as giants until we finally faced our David.
But this trailer was released on September 14th and his voiceover tweet was on September 28th.
Sorry for the background noise, by the way. Sorry.
So it seems like Tony Todd has some upcoming projects that he's keeping private. Not only that, but Kote's tweet saying he was working on something for DBD came the same day as Tony Todd's tweet. Some people are hopeful that a Dead by Daylight Candyman crossover is coming for the 6-year anniversary. There have been a lot of tweets to Matthew Kote about Candyman in the 2 months leading up to this tweet. A lot of these tweets were in the build-up to Chapter 21, which some people thought was Candyman because of Tony Todd's tweet. Kote could have been talking about Candyman in his tweet, but the only tweet that's close to the time that Kote tweeted is this tweet right here. And I wouldn't say that it's begging. Kote and Behavior definitely want this license. It's iconic, and some people believe that the voiceover session could have been for Candyman voice lines. To me, it's still unclear if the license holders would be willing. Therefore, Candyman is a low A-tier license on our tier list. Realistically, the voiceovers might not even have been for a video game. It could be ADR for a feature film or voiceovers for an animated film. We don't really know. Outlast from Red Barrels is a strong Chapter 24 theory because we've seen Behavior go for video game licenses in the last 2 anniversary chapters. Behavior licensed The Trapper into Ubisoft's For Honor during the Halloween 2021 season. Ubisoft, Behavior, and Red Barrels are all Montreal-based video game devs, where everyone—
By the way, if you didn't know, I played For Honor like way back before I even touch a DVD.
Everyone knows everyone. Kote alluded to this in an interview with the For Honor devs. So I feel like there's a real chance for Behavior to get their hands on this license. Is this license more iconic than The Ring? Like if Outlast is the next licensed chapter in DBD, why didn't Behavior make Outlast Chapter 23 and The Ring Chapter 24? Well, one possible explanation is to line up with the new Outlast game. Its 2022 release was announced during the Outlast Trials reveal trailer. This was during Gamescom opening night live in August 2021.
And tonight, I am so honored to world premiere the brand new trailer for this game launching in 2022.
As of right now, there's no hard date for that game, but maybe Behavior and Red Barrel—
I was about to say, does it release like before May?
are planning to coordinate the release of an Outlast chapter with the new Outlast game. This is similar to what we saw with the Resident Evil Village and the Resident Evil DBD chapter. We also found tweets retweeted by major content creators that could explain Kote's tweet. We went over this theory in depth in this video. If you want to see that video, you can click on the title above. So when analyzing
So they wouldn't want the brute guy, they would actually want the surgeon. I mean, I wouldn't mind either. I just don't know exactly what the surgeon would do.
The Outlast situation,
they can make up anything with that, so I mean, I wouldn't mind either or. As long as it's Outlast, that will be
evidence that Kote could have been talking about the license in this tweet. It's a pretty iconic license, but Outlast wasn't listed as a license on the satisfaction survey. In my opinion, there's a real chance that Behavior could snatch this license after releasing the satisfaction survey. So Outlast qualifies as a high A-tier license. For Alien and Predator, both owned by 20th Century Studios, we found that Alien is much more hyped than Predator, according to DBD Leaks' recent tournament, as well as our most hyped licenses tournament from last summer. For Predator's licensing, last we left off January.
Bro, make an Alien versus Predator chapter and call it a day. Just put both of them in the game at the same time. 1 PTB, 2 killers. Come on now. 1 PTB, 2 killers, 1 survivor, maybe 2, and a map. Call it a day, bro. Alien versus Predator chapter.
February 13th, 2023 marked the copyright termination date, in which the original screenwriters would regain the rights to the original screenplay in the US from 20th Century Studios. On January 12th this year, Disney and Predator writers settled the copyright dispute over the screenplay. Disney's 20th Century Studios and the brothers who wrote the screenplay for the original Predator movie have agreed to drop their copyright dispute according to a Wednesday filing in LA federal court. With that settled, Disney can move forward with the summer 2022 Hulu release of the new Predator film, which is titled Prey. So this lawsuit has been privately resolved.
Because 3C Films was talking about that.
From what I read, it sounds like Disney has pretty deep pockets and found a way to keep the license. Both Alien and Predator were listed on Behavior's satisfaction survey. Predator hasn't exactly been mentioned in the 2 months leading up to Kote's tweet. Alien has been pretty extensive.
But like I said, anything is possible.
I found multiple tweets begging Kote for the license. So Alien has to be higher than Predator on our tier list. Based on everything we know, I have Alien at an A-tier license, probably below Outlast. And Predator is more of a wildcard since Kote definitely wasn't talking about the Predator license in this tweet.
But like I said, anything is possible. Remember, it's like it be the stuff they don't even like talk about and mention like sometimes.
Evil Within from Tango Gameworks and Dead Space from EA were both mentioned on the satisfaction survey. However, nobody's mentioned the Evil Within to Kote. Like literally 0 tweets in the 2 months leading up to Kote's tweet. But Dead Space has a couple hits. Note that the Dead Space tweets do have some people really begging for the license. This one here was from July 29th, which was about 2 months before Kote's tweet. All of the tweets here were more than a month before Kote's tweet, so realistically I'd be leaning towards Kote wasn't talking about Dead Space. So on our tier list, Dead Space qualifies as a B tier license and the Evil Within settles in our C tier. I did some more research on the Slenderman license holders mythology holdings. They're based in Beverly
actually love Evil Within chapter
Hills and don't really have much social media. I mean, if Slenderman is chapter 24, Behavior will have needed to contact Brad Fischer. He doesn't have a Twitter or any other social media. There wasn't any mention of Slenderman to Matthew Kote in the months leading up to this tweet. Although people have tagged Dead by Daylight Twitter begging for Slenderman, and it's possible Kote saw that. In our last speculation video, we talked about how the creator of Terradrome failed to get the Slenderman license. And we know that Brad Fischer usually doesn't entertain unsolicited licensing inquiries. So it's difficult to say if Behavior could get this license because there's no social media attached to Mythology Holdings. It's hard to speculate a business collaboration when those avenues don't exist on the internet. Kote has said in the past that finding the right people to talk to is usually the hardest.
My thing is, can they possibly make their own Slenderman? Maybe. I don't know if they could get around that. It's
part of the job.
Make them look different.
But the difficulty for this one was mostly to try to get in touch with the right people. Once that was done, getting the contract settled was a simple matter. It was not a very complex one. It's just a matter of finding the right people to talk to, and then once that was done, that was good. We were good to go.
The fact that I was able to get a hold of Brad Fischer probably means it'd be easy for Behavior to reach out, but whether he'd be willing is difficult to say. Also, it's difficult to say if Behavior wants this license. Slenderman wasn't on the satisfaction survey, and we know that Kote said since he doesn't physically touch his victims, he might not fit in DBD. But since then, Behavior has implemented Pinhead, and Pinhead never touches any of his victims in any of the movies.
Yo, like he did
these factors together.
That's why I'm literally like, dude.
Places Slenderman in our low B tier. I have no idea why Slenderman wasn't on that survey, and it really baffles me to this day. Springtrap from FNAF is still owned by Scott Cawthon. We had a pretty interesting theory brought up in this video about Springtrap, suggesting Scott might be more open to collaborations this year. There's been updates to the situation. This Fortnite Leaks and News content creator on Twitter said that FNAF is probably an upcoming collaboration in Fortnite. It's not 100% confirmed, but seeing that from a Fortnite leaker is really promising. On February 5th at Universal Studios Hollywood City Walk, FNAF merchandise was spotted. It's really exciting the FNAF community seeing all the merchandising. There's been even more FNAF merchandising leaked.
That animatronic dancing. Let that sink in, bro.
too, including a Freddy Fazbear t-shirt on Funko.com. All of this merchandising must have gone through Scott Cawthon.
Now the thing that scares me though is like, don't like Fortnite players, aren't they like mainly kids? So it's like, maybe I'm pulling the string too hard. I don't know. Because it is rated E for everyone. You know what I'm trying to say?
Someone asked Jason Blum from Blumhouse, how is the FNAF movie coming along? Jason Blum responded, it really is still coming, I promise, guys. Even in this article here, Blum said it's really tough to crack. We've written multiple scripts. And we've gotten to where we're threading a needle, which is doing justice to the Five Nights at Freddy's and making Scott Cawthon happy. The only way that we would go about it is giving Scott, I don't want to do something that Scott doesn't like. Let me say that a different way. I don't have the right to do anything Scott doesn't like. Basically, Scott is kind of the equivalent of Final Cut, and it's taken longer than I hoped to get the story right. I reckon if a Springtrap DVD chapter ever came to Dead by Daylight, Scott would work really closely with the behavior devs. And I mean even more closely than the license holders usually do to get the story and the lore just right. He's really picky, which is fine. I think it's a good thing. Obviously, we've seen some people begging for Springtrap in the 2 months leading up to Kote's tweet. To be honest, a lot of this traffic came from the Chapter 21 teaser season. Nobody has mentioned Springtrap on Twitter to Kote in the month before his tweet. Behavior listed Springtrap as a pop.
It's because I feel like their dream. Because it's like, when did we get that? When did Xenomorph make that position? That was like a long time ago, wasn't it? That was like the 4th anniversary almost. After we have gotten Pyramid Head, it was like that summer, wasn't it? Maybe I'm bugging. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was,
license on their satisfaction survey, and we have evidence that the dev team.
That's when like Springtrap started getting like a lot of attention and a lot of hype towards being in Dead by Daylight.
Probably made this license a priority to try and get. It also makes sense as an anniversary chapter over The Ring because it's a more hyped license right now. Although we've got so much evidence to suggest that FNAF is more open to crossovers, to me it's still unclear if Scott would be open to this collaboration with Dead by Daylight. So Springtrap is an A-tier license. I'd say that based on everything we know, Springtrap is more likely than Outlast, Alien, and Candyman. Bioshock seems like an easy license for behavior to work with, which we talked about in this video. Someone did mention Bioshock just days before.
Like I said, cross your fingers. I mean,
for Kote's tweet.
I would like if it like I'm being like 100% honest with you. If it's dead not Springtrap, like I won't be disappointed, only because I already know like whatever it is, I already know they're gonna live up to it anyways. It's like the anniversary.
6 days before, to be exact. I don't think I'd consider this begging per se, but it seems to validate the argument that Kote could have been talking about this license. So we're putting Bioshock as a B-tier license. It might not be considered the most iconic thing out there, and behavior may have decided it really doesn't fit in the genre of the game. Is Bioshock more iconic than The Ring? I would say not really, no. It was on the satisfaction survey, but nonetheless, right now I have Bioshock as a low B-tier license, or a wild card. For Malignant, we found evidence of someone tagging...
Oh, me and my brother was talking about this possibly being the game today. He was like, yo, you'll love. I was like, yo, wouldn't it be cool if the dude from Malignant, Gabriel, was in the game? Wouldn't that be pretty lit? Because it's like when you moonwalk, you will see the girl's face, Maddie, but then he walks backwards, but then when he walks backwards, he's walking forward, if that makes sense. So if like from the survivor's point of view, when he's actually, let me shut up.
Behavior in a tweet just 11 days before Kote's tweet. A lot of people thought that this 2021 film was an instant classic.
It's like you gotta see the movie to really understand.
Would Behavior be willing to bring an active license like this into DBD? They did say
just like the movement is vice versa. Backwards is forward. Forward is backwards. So when Gabriel is chasing you, forward is backwards.
They were proud of bringing in an active license during a Stranger Things reveal.
So far, all the licenses that we've put into the game have been very classic. Old classics. Yeah. These things are the building blocks on which so many horror icons were built, actually. And so that's sort of the playground where we were in. And now with the release of Stranger Things, we are in the middle of the current biggest horror thing that there is, arguably.
Kote also did say this in an interview with The King.
Stranger Things
by now,
there's a pretty big license,
big surprises in there. Like the list has been pretty stable. Like I know what I have to do.
So pretty well everything has already been on your list, and there's nothing that's been like under your radar.
To a certain extent, there's always going to be the hot newcomer that's everybody's talking about that thing now, and you go
like Fear Street, for example, would be one of those.
As an example of a newcomer in the world of horror, and as a museum, to come back to that again. Art does not need to be 500 years old to be good.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to.
Right.
And it's absolutely possible to show something
anything that just released, and if it's horror, could be just as iconic as something
that
that
is
was
current
that been out for a long
and
time.
extremely relevant.
The link to the entire interview is in the description below. New Line Cinema owns this IP, and Behavior already worked with them to license the Freddy Krueger DLC. So this IP has all the pieces to speculate it as the 6-year anniversary. It's iconic. We have evidence that Kote could have been talking about the license.
Very, bro. Like, people fail to realize how creative this movie actually was. Like, for anyone who didn't see it, you should actually watch it. It's insane.
The license holders could be willing. There's evidence in more than one place that Kote and Behavior might go
probably discussed it like, yo, this, I don't even know what this movie is. When you watch it, you're not going to be saying, oh, I thought
for a license like this.
So
Malignant is an S-tier license. It's our first S-tier license on this list, but not the last. We talked about how the Pennywise license holder said no to Kote in this video. The main question for me is it possible that the status of the license has changed? Well, Kote has said Pennywise is his dream license several times, which isn't really a good basis for an argument by itself, because the license holder said no in September 2018. However, Kote said this in an interview shortly after the Pinhead chapter.
Over the last 5-6 years almost, people have asked me personally, like, who would you like to see in DBD? And it's always kind of a touchy subject, because I don't want to you know, talk about something if I know it's coming in 2 weeks or even in 6 months. You know, I don't want to give information that I shouldn't, but Pinhead has always been one that I got back to even early on. Like, I remember in the first few months of the game.
So Kote said he won't mention licenses if he knows they're upcoming. He gave this time frame of about 6 months in advance. He already said that Pennywise is his dream license years ago. Well, when the king asked Kote what his dream license was 3 months ago, this is what happened.
What is your personal wish fits for what's to come into DBD? This is obviously the museum now. You guys have so much things. Game development aside, your personal, like, I want this. It can even be rubber.
License, you don't have to worry about any of the loopholes.
Next you're going to tell me it's going to be off the record or something. But no. I can't... Like, anything that is even remotely possible at this point is impossible for me to discuss. Unfortunately. What I can...
Just from him saying that, doesn't that just sound funny? I'm gonna keep it real with you, because remember, like what Schmuckles just said, a couple years ago, he said he wanted Pennywise, but all of a sudden now, he can't say nothing. Let that sink in, bro.
Say is, I would really.
I could be wrong though. I don't know. That seems a bit sus.
Some of our original characters come into other games. That's what I'd like to see next.
So Kote not saying Pennywise here is so suspicious.
Yeah.
Pennywise is one of his dream licenses.
Come on now.
Then he says he won't mention upcoming licenses in this interview 4 months ago, right after Pinhead. Then King asks him which licenses he wants in DBD, and he says he can't mention anything that's remotely close. In my opinion, for these reasons, Pennywise is the frontrunner for the 6-year anniversary. Either Pennywise is the 6-year anniversary, or Kote said no comment.
Off him just saying that, man.
Because the list of super iconic IPs is thinning out.
He should have just said Pennywise just to make it less hot. I'm kind of pretty certain that we getting Pennywise now. Like, that made it really hot.
Still, Pennywise is hitting the mark, and
unless it's like he's trying to confuse us somehow by remembering what he said years ago, and then not saying it now to throw us off, and then it's actually a huge surprise and unexpected surprise at the anniversary.
All categories, and it's an S-tier license. Pennywise is
really right now, like, just off what I've just seen, it's Pennywise, yo.
Iconic behaviors worked with the license holders before. It's more iconic than The Ring, and it actually makes sense why we saw 3 licenses in year 6 if the 6-year anniversary was already lined up to be Pennywise.
I know people saying the whole Stephen King situation. Listen, they probably figured something out knowing these devs, man. They because remember they said the same thing with licensing, but Pinhead, we got Pinhead, bro. Like, I don't know.
A lot of people have asked Kote for Pennywise leading up to this tweet as well. There's a lot of people really begging for Pennywise in DBD. Based on everything we know right now, Pennywise is my top choice for the 6-year. This is a pretty similar situation to Chucky as well. Kote has said he would love Chucky in DBD and even offered solutions to the physics of Chucky. He talked about Chucky as an iconic license too. People have begged Kote for the Chucky license on Twitter leading up to his tweet. So it's also possible that Kote said no comment in the King's interview because Chucky is lined up for the 6-year. This also makes sense because Chucky is...
Let me take that back by like 5%.
More iconic than The Ring. Right now I have Chucky.
But the fact that he's not talking about them all of a sudden, That's weird, bro.
He has a low S-tier license because he wasn't on the satisfaction survey. Why wasn't Chucky on that survey? It honestly baffles me. Somebody asked Kote after the Silent Hill chapter if a
probably because they know it'll probably either one be corny or two will just be trying too hard to the fact that it's completely unfaithful towards the film. Because knowing these devs, they be wanting to make it faithful as possible. So they probably don't want to switch up nothing too much dealing with Chucky. So they was like, you know what? He's not going to be in the game. Let's just call it a day.
Resident Evil chapter was possible. Kote said if there's something they've decided that they will never do, he can't talk about it. Talking
like, what are you going to do? Pick Chucky on stilts? Like, that never happened in the film.
About Resident Evil.
If it was something that was in the works, I couldn't talk about it. If it was something that we discussed with them, but haven't come to an agreement yet, I couldn't possibly talk about it. If it was something that we decided we would never do, it probably is something that I would not be able to talk about. So it's very difficult for me to talk about these things.
So if they've decided behind closed doors that Chucky will never come into Dead by Daylight, that would explain why Chucky wasn't on the satisfaction survey. Behavior might be scared to break the style of DBD gameplay. Maybe Chucky is just too different because of his height. I put Chucky as an S-tier license because he's hitting the mark in all other categories and is so iconic. We're running out of major horror IPs and the ones left seem difficult to get. So maybe Behavior's opted to take a chance with Chucky for the 6th year. Also note that Chucky was listed on that Fortnite survey. If Epic Games is listing licenses that are legitimately possible, that might suggest that the Chucky license holders would be open to licensing Chucky into DBD. For Jack Torrance from The Shining, I did a little more research and there's actually no evidence that Stephen King tried to get the rights back to this IP. This would have been 35 years after the Stanley Kubrick movie. He's fighting a lot of battles to regain the rights to a lot of his IPs and I don't think The Shining is one of them. Nobody has mentioned Jack Torrance to Kote before this tweet. He was on...
Wouldn't that be lit though? Like... Not really, like, not much for the killer, because I really don't know what he would do. He would probably just break pallets fast, like, he has some, like, destruction joint. But the map, that would be
the satisfaction survey, but nonetheless, The Shining qualifies as a C-tier license. The IPs Valak and The Last of Us were both on the satisfaction survey, but there haven't
but anything is possible.
Been any tweets to Kote within 2 months before his tweet. So these are both C-tier licenses too. For The Walking Dead, there's been nothing on this license. I also searched Rick Grimes to see if I can...
The 4th anniversary shut me down, bro. It shut me up.
Get any hits.
You know how much I really thought it was gonna be Silent Hill and it ended up being Silent Hill? That joint shut me down. I was like, let me shut up.
And someone mentioned they'd like to see Rick Grimes on DVD. It's not really begging though. We know that AMC has been open to smaller indie game devs. One smaller than Behavior. The Walking Dead was on the satisfaction survey, so I have it down on our wildcard B tier. There's not too much new information on this IP, but it's still super hyped and super iconic. Same thing with The Thing, which is owned by Universal Pictures. Really it was on the satisfaction survey and The Thing license was given out to a small indie game dev years ago. Behavior has talked about being okay with monsters in DBD. And some people think that Behavior would add this license to replace the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. But to me, that doesn't really speak to the status of the license.
I want to say because when you... That means like you can't really... Remember how I was talking about the spider being in DBD, that spider from the Tomb? That spider was humanoid, so it's like... Most of these monsters tend to be humanoid.
There are tweets to Kote that could possibly make sense for Kote's tweet, so, but these tweets were roughly 2 months beforehand. So I have The Thing as a B tier license since it's more of a wild card at this point. This is our final tier list based on everything we know. Do you agree with this list? Are there any other licenses that you think would be more likely than these ones? Let me know in the comments below. If I had to pick a hard top 5
number... The fact that we could possibly... That we're most likely looking at a chapter that's on here is the crazy part. Now the real... plot twist will be a chapter that's really not on this list at all, and it's in the game. I don't know.
Number 5 is Outlast. Number 4 is Springtrap. Number 3 is Chucky. Number 2 is Malignant. And number 1 is Pennywise. Of course, there are wildcard licenses that are possible, and Chapter 24 could be original. We're going to adjust this list as the anniversary chapter gets closer because there's always new news and leaks that could come out. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see those videos when I post them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.
That was pretty sus. What he said, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty sus, bro. That's all I'm gonna take from that. Is it possible it could be Springtrap? Absolutely. Is it very, very much possible for it to be Pennywise? Absolutely, bro. Like, but like, remember, like I said, if he did that just to be smart because he knows that the 6th anniversary is coming up, that would be different. Pennywise might just be the 6th anniversary killer. You gotta see. By the looks of it, that's what it's looking at. That's what it's looking like, bro. I don't know. I'm not saying that just because Schmuckles said it, but That was rarely. You can't deny that was extremely like sus. Come on now. But anyways, let me know what you think. Leave a like, subscribe. Take care. Love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
To the beat, to the beat, y'all. Check it out. Come on. 1, 2, y'all. What you going?